Hi everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel, One Book or Novel at a Time. Thank you for tuning in, and where I will continue reading to you Doll by Miracle Austin. And as I start every chapter that I read aloud, I do have to let you know that some books cannot be copied, cannot be read aloud without the authorization of the author. And in this case, Miracle Austin did provide authorization for me to do this. So I thought I'd let you know, and I have to state that, all right? So with that, I will begin reading the next chapters. Chapter 20. I wanted to tell you this in private, away from the ladies. What is it, Lisette? My foot started tapping. You still do it? What? I looked down. That tapping, Tommy. I guess so. I placed my hand on my leg and pressed down to minimize the tapping. What exactly did your dad tell you about your late mom? He said that she went missing a few months after I was born and was later found dead floating in a lake. Do you know anything about your mom's parents? No. Dad shared they never wanted to be contacted after my mom's death because they blamed him. Once I tell you this story about your mom, you'll understand a lot more why your dad despises the LaView family, including me. Oh, he just doesn't want me to hang out with you, Lisette. Tommy Dupree, I know better. I've always known how he has felt about me. It's okay. I'm sorry. Don't be. I didn't mean to stop you. Please continue, Lisette. Tommy, your grandparents sent your mom away to have you because of a secret and forced her to place you up for adoption. Your dad's parents wanted to raise you, so they fought for you and obtained custody over you for your dad because your dad was still so young. They moved out of Louisiana and later transferred custody over to your dad. Once he became stable enough and could take care of you financially, that's one reason why he's always worked so hard. Man, I've been so unappreciative of him so many times. Lisette patted my back. As I lowered my head, after a few minutes, she placed her hand under my chin to lift my head up. Your mom was a late bloomer, a witch, like me. Her revealing occurred when she turned 21 years old. No, that's not true. Tommy, it's true. Your dad did tell you the one true thing about your mom, how she was later found in the lake. Your dad possesses his reasons for not telling you everything, which he will soon share with you. Lisette scooted closer over to me to rub my back. I'm so sorry that you didn't know. I knew it was time to tell you. After what you shared in the living room, why would my dad and my mom both raise me, Lisette? Her parents, your grandparents, made that decision for her, which ignited a dark depression and self-destruction inside of her. Once she found out that she was forbidden to be associated with you, she placed a spell on herself. What kind of spell did she do? Tears started to form in the corners of my eyes. One of the most powerful spells not to be practiced. She committed the Ender spell. What's that? A spell that involves stripping a witch of all her powers and more. What else did that spell do to my mom? Your mom was a natural witch because of her bloodline. It's simply a spell not to be practiced in our world. It's one of the forbidden ones. It terminated her entire life force. You mean, yes. Some duck hunters found her floating in the lake after she performed the spell. Tears just flowed. I never knew any of this. Why would Dad not tell me? I believe that he has been trying to protect you, so don't be angry with him. I know he'll soon tell you what he's been holding on to for so long. Lisette, You think I'll have the curse? You know what I mean. I'm not sure. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. If it does, then I'm here to guide and train you. And if it doesn't, then I'm here too. You really think Dad will tell me his secret soon? Yes. He'll know when he needs to share with you. I wipe my tears with my inner sleeve. Come on, let's go back inside and get you some down-home sustenance. Okay, let me just gather my thoughts for a bit. All right, take all the time you need. Tell Sari I'll be in soon, okay? Will do. Lisette gave me a half wink, and I gave her one back. I just sat there looking up at the night sky and thought about what was happening in my life and now this new information about my late mom. I had a lot to digest, and one night surely wouldn't be enough. I tilted my head back, whispered some words up to my mom, and hoped she could hear me. I walked back towards Lisette's house, which was lit with colorful lights around the doorway. I could see the three of them walking back and forth from the table. And that is the end of chapter 20. Chapter 21. As soon as I walked in, Sari grabbed me and hugged me tight. She whispered, "I'm here if you want to talk, okay?" I nodded my head to thank her and kissed her on her forehead before mouthing, "Thank you." We ate dinner, and the gumbo was amazing and so spicy that I ended up drinking almost a pitcher of ice cold water to cool my tongue. That didn't stop me from going back for more, though. The last time I had traditional gumbo was a few years ago when Lisette shipped a large frozen container on dry ice overnight for Thanksgiving. For this being Sari's first time eating gumbo, she ate it like a pro after I showed her a few tricks. She cracked the large snow crab legs perfectly with her hands. She didn't even use the pliers, but used the small fork to dig out the crab meat. She even used her teeth. I was so impressed. Opal settled for homemade noodle soup, which Lisette had prepared a few nights ago because she was allergic to shellfish. Lisette just kind of knew these things as always. Lisette stood up, walked around to each of us, and refilled our glasses with cold water from an antique blue glass. "Shall we proceed?" Lisette asked. Well, we all nodded and helped to clear the table. I scraped all the leftover food from the bowls into the trash. Sari washed, Opal dried, and Lisette placed all the dishes in the rightful places. She stored the gumbo in large plastic containers and put them in the freezer. "Tommy, I'm putting these 2 large containers in the top freezer for you and Sari to take back home with you, okay? I have a cooler in the garage that I'll fill up with some ice to keep it cool until you all get back home." "Sorry, Opal, you couldn't experience it, but I placed a container of the chicken noodle soup in the freezer for you." Opal nodded with a half smile. "Thanks so much, Lisette. Appreciate it," I said. This was a nice treat because I didn't know the next time that I would get some homemade gumbo. Lisette walked out of the kitchen and beckoned for us to follow her. She guided us through the living room area into the dim lit hallway. She walked over a large checkered rug. She waved her hands over the rug and it floated high up towards the ceiling. It remained in a stationary position in the air. A wooden door with a large round blue hook attached to it was beneath it. She waved her hand over it and it opened up wide, showing the stairs leading down to the basement. It was a long spiral staircase. As we peered down, she walked down first and a row of lights turned on. She looked back. "Aren't y'all coming?" Opal followed behind her, Lisette holding her hand as she descended one step at a time due to her foot disability. The darkness vanished, several lights illuminating the way as Lisette passed them. She called for Sari and me to follow her. Sari paced the floor a few times and begged me not to make her go. She had a thing about basements. I told her to just stay up top. I gently pushed her hair behind her ears. She provided a slight smile and squeezed my hand. Told me, "You're really sure about all this?" "Yeah. This is the only way to finally give Pepper a taste of what she's been dishing out to all of us. And who knows who else. All these years. Payback time, especially. After the water shower the other night. She ruined your beautiful dress and almost our night. It's definitely time." "Okay, I'm not going anywhere," she said, and squatted down to sit cross-legged, watching me descending the stairs while fishing out herself to check it out. And that is the end of chapter 21. Chapter 22 is getting very intensified. Let's see what happens here now. Once I joined Oppo and Lisette, I noticed almost hundreds of shelves with various colored and labeled bottles, rows of candles, and a 10-foot wooden bookcase with glass doors. My mouth dropped when I realized what was inside the bookcase. Almost 100 miniature doll-like figures, each one 4 inches tall, if that. These dolls look human. Their facial features seem so real, with diverse hair colors and complete outfits, making each one look unique. I couldn't take my eyes off these dolls. Their eyes even appeared to sparkle. It seemed as if few of the dolls' eyes followed me as I examined each row. Oppo and Lisette were leaned up against a long table and continued to chat. I really didn't bother to tune in to what they were discussing because I was more interested in the dolls. They were pulling me in. "Lisette, what's up with all these dolls? Are they like voodoo dolls?" Lisette entered her conversation with Oppo. She walked up to me. "Sort of, but they're really special." I tilted my head to the side. "Huh? They look like mini Lily dolls, but way smaller. The ones that used to be so popular for girls when we were younger." "Yes, they do," she said. "So, what makes these dolls so special then?" I made each one of them and followed the very special instructions from Mary LaView's spell book. I'm confused. So they're not voodoo dolls? Yes, these are voodoo dolls, but they each possess a soul. They all require something special to ignite the life of the person that you desire. What? How can dolls possess a soul, Lisette? They are just made out of plastic, glue, and other things like that. Her necklace with various trinkets levitated in the air on its own, and she grabbed the silver antique-looking key. She walked over closer to the special case and inserted the key. The case opened up. Lisette placed her hands on her hips and scanned each row quickly. Now, Opal was providing a description of the infamous Pepper Fox while you were studying the case. Her eyes locked in on the 13th row and the 5th doll from the left. She moved her index finger back and forth, and the doll levitated from her seated position within the case and landed inside Lisette's open palm. She waved her hand once, and the cabinet door swung closed and the key repositioned itself into the lock on its own to lock the case back up. I walked over to her, and Opal turned around to face both of us. Lisette placed the doll on the counter. I promised I had to look at the doll a few times. I couldn't believe how close this doll resembled Pepper Fox. I mean, from her skin tone to her hair, turquoise eye color, and the type of outfit only Pepper could pull off. Lisette asked Opal to hand her the large blue pin cushion. Lisette pulled out a pin and pricked the tiny palm of the doll's hand once. Nothing happened at first, so I leaned in to take a closer look. All of a sudden, a drop of blood appeared inside of the doll's hand and dropped to the table. I blinked a few times before saying anything. Opal was speechless as well. Lisette, is that real blood that came out of that doll's hand? I asked with raised eyebrows and widened eyes. Yes, she said, nodding her head up and down. But how? That's the thing about this world. Anything is possible. There are just some things better left unexplained. This world can be very tricky and complicated at the same time. It's really best to know as little as possible, okay? Lisette whispered. So, this is the doll we'll use on Pepper? Opal asked. She stared at it intensely. Yes. All you need to make it Pepper ready is something personal of hers to be attached somewhere to the doll. Like a piece of her hair? I asked and laughed under my breath. That would just do fine. Just basically anything that she has worn or touched will be just as fine as well. I think that I may have just the thing at home, Opal said in a throaty tone. What would you have of Pepper's? I asked. An old ribbon she lost in junior high, Opal said. You've held on to that this long? I asked. Yeah, I figured that it may come in handy one day, and this seems to be the day. Right, Lisette? Opal asked, squinting her eyes. Indeed, this is the day. All right, we have this spooky-looking doll that can bleed when poked with a sharp object. Opal has an old ribbon of Pepper's. So anything else, Lisette? I asked. Yes, of course. The most important piece will be the spell, she whispered. Lisette grabbed a cloth bag with drawstrings about the size of a sheet of paper underneath the table. She slid the doll inside and drew the drawstrings tightly. She grabbed a large book. It looked like a huge dictionary with strange markings that may have weighed 100 pounds. Lisette assisted Opal back up the stairs. I followed behind them. Lisette turned the lights off with a slight wave of her hand. She did the same with the basement door, and the throw rug flew back down slowly and landed over the hidden entry, as if never existed. Sari was leaned up against the wall with a bewildered look planted on her face. What took you all so long? Sari asked. I was getting worried. She started pacing again. I had to stand in front of her to end her pacing. We had to find the right doll for Pepper. What? Seriously? Like a voodoo doll? Sari stuttered. Yes, but I'll explain more to you later, okay? Come on. And that is the end of chapter 22. Wow, the book is getting really good, right? Very intriguing, unpredictable things that we've been reading on. So I just wanted to let you know, thank you for tuning in to One Book or Novel at a Time. If you haven't subscribed, once this video finishes, hit subscribe so that you can be listening to other videos, because I also read other books. And but for now, this is it. Thank you once again for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next video. Have a wonderful day.